Burgers, tender grills, mocktails, milkshakes, and so much more. Corporate and events catering available. Visit our social media pages for more info or call 031 209 0119. Kiki's, the taste with kick.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
Welcome back to the show. Apologies, we seem to have had a little bit of a bad signal there, but we're on air and ready for this. A very inspirational morning. So we're saying go grab a cup of coffee and do join us to get inspired into better spaces and better places. And no better place to be as far as relative, should we say, issues are concerned that can educate us to be able to overcome our challenges in many directions. And this is where Conversations for Muslim Women, which is a newly formed group created to educate and empower women on relative topics pertaining to their daily life issues, comes into play. A discussion focused on the reality of an average Muslimah experiences in South Africa. And joining me on the line, I have the founders, Sister Amina, Mohamed, and Brother Zaid, Ismail. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A very warm welcome to this morning's show. It's always a pleasure having inspirational people joining us and trying to entice us, as I always say, into better spaces and better places. And why not today, being World Humanitarian Day?
Definitely. Inshallah, we can achieve those objectives and goals of yours.
Yes. I think the topic that we're going to be talking about is so relative, but let's just talk about how this was founded and what inspired yourself and Amina to actually get this going. Because I think it's important for, should we say, our viewers to understand the importance and the relativity of this. Many of us in everyday life go through so many different challenges and situations. And the first question we ask ourselves is, where do we start? How do we give ourselves that kickstart to be able to change our lives? So Amina, let's start with you since you're on air. How was this founded? What decided you and Zaid to collaborate on this? And it's phenomenal to see a gentleman joining us as far as women's conversations are concerned. So thank you. I want to commend you on that.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Shukran for having us on the show. So Zaid and I go back a couple of years, and we met because of the work we do. We're both life coaches, and we love to talk about things that we're passionate about. And one of the things is female empowerment, women's equality, but more passionately so is the community that we live in and how we grew up with the experiences that we've grown up with. So about a year ago, we said, look, we need to start changing narratives. We need to start changing things because that's the only time that you get different results, And having looked and having had clients, both of us, that have shared such traumatic experiences with us, and finding out that they really didn't have an outlet or a platform for which, in which to just air what they were saying, not necessarily be judged. And both Zaid and I thought, okay, this is something we need to do. It also had stemmed from the GBV that was quite rife in South Africa. And I said to him, it's well and fine women doing this, but we need to change the minds of women and men. And so that's why I said, we have to do it together. It has to be a woman and a man talking about this. And then we said, we really want to open it up to conversations with Muslim women. What are our Muslim women in our communities experiencing? So not Muslim Indian, not Muslim colored, not Muslim black, Muslims in general. We all have experiences, and we'd love to hear those experiences so that we can start having positive connections and positive conversations to take things forward and to help the community and the society as a whole. To literally just be understanding of each other, because with understanding comes the ability to change behavior.
I so agree with you. And let's go to Zaid there quickly. Zaid, I think you'd agree with me. A lot of the times there's something that many people would say is that you would not understand what somebody is going through unless you've experienced the experience. And I think this is what this network is about, is many women are in spaces where they're experiencing similar things, but not realizing that there's a network out there and a support structure out there that doesn't make them feel as though they're alone. Because in many occasions, if you're speaking to somebody or if, say, for example, you speak to me and I say, oh my goodness, I'm so alone in the situation. I really do not know how to deal with it. But not realizing that there is somebody or someone out there to be able to give us that opportunity to showcase our challenge and be able to, of course, talk to people that relate to it.
And I think one of the critical things that comes into play when we talk about this side of it is that when we go out looking for that space to have our voice, or when we go out looking for advisors in that regard to see how we can get some support or assistance to overcome what we're dealing with, we need to be very, very careful about that, because if you choose poorly, you'll get someone that will reinforce possible behavioral patterns and mindsets that might be contributing to your current state. So what we wanted to do with this platform is make it available so that people can share their experiences of what the typical experience is, what they're going through as a real life experience and what their reality is. And from myself and Amina's side, what we hope to do is to provide insights so that they can understand better what's contributing towards that space. But more importantly, we don't only want to raise visibility about how each individual might be contributing or might be able to find ways to be more effective at resolving what they're dealing with. We also want to raise awareness of the fact that there are either some support structures out there that they can reach out to get assistance, but also if there are existing support structures that have gaps in how it is that they're providing the support and assistance, we want to be able to highlight that as well. So it's about creating awareness of what the real experience is for Muslimas that are finding themselves in a position of difficulty, and what it is that they struggle with to be able to get assistance to alleviate that condition that they find themselves in.
I so agree with you there. And I like the idea that you say going to the right people, because in many instances, you'd find a person picking up the phone thinking that they're speaking to the relative peer or a friend and getting the correct advice. But they're obviously going to see it from their point of view and not from a neutral point of view. And I think that's the important thing that we need to bring to the fore, that the manner in which the issue needs to be dealt with is from a neutral party's point of view. And that's where yourself and Amina come in, to be able to create that neutral environment and find the amicable situation, a solution, should I say, that is going to make them find themselves in the right space as opposed to the incorrect one.
Yes, absolutely. If we go to the wrong advisor, we'll end up trying to solve the wrong problem, and the real issue will remain unresolved, and that just creates two new problems as opposed to resolving what it is that we're dealing with in the first place.
That's very true. Amina, on to you. Let's talk about interacting with women and what it's been like for you from an experience point of view to be able to bring issues to the fore. What is it that you find is the most important thing that women are experiencing at this point in time? And I know it's become 100-fold more challenging, especially now during this COVID-19 and this unrest period that we've had.
Yes, the experiences are very many, but if I were to say thematically, what we're finding, there is a lot of abuse, and people think abuse is only physical. There's financial abuse, there's mental abuse, there's psychological abuse, there's emotional abuse. And during these hard times, especially during lockdown, we're finding that a lot of women now, their husbands are working from home. And there's a lot of stress that's added to that. But because there has never been a platform for conversation, they don't know how to deal with the situation. And what's starting to happen is the man who feels trapped, who feels frustrated, and is working in an uncertain environment doesn't know how to process that and doesn't know who to turn to for that. So takes it out on his wife, who now is feeling and bearing the brunt of everything else that she is currently going through in the community and experiencing in the community, and now having to deal with this dynamic at home. So people are really finding it very difficult on all avenues. And I think that the absence of a platform that is free of judgment, somewhere where people can just come and say, this is my experience, is the absence of that is just exacerbating the problem. And men are expected to behave in a certain way. We don't ask for help. We're the head of the household. It's considered weak if we show that signs of distress. And this is a very distressing situation. Men do need help because they don't know if their jobs are secure. They're uncomfortable working from home. Some people are, some aren't. But then you get the men who are working from home and then place extra demands on their wives. What's for lunch? What's for this? What's for that? And expect to be served the whole day, while they're working. So it's all of these dynamics that we're inviting to be shared. Come share these experiences and let's see how we can help each other.
I agree. Zaid, would you say that education is important? Because I am going to put myself on a bit of a firing spot. Would you say that, from generation to generation, from our ancestors, there was a certain norm that we had to follow and say, well, this is how it's done. This is how we live. This is how we go from generation to generation. And unfortunately, we have gotten stuck in that particular mindset, not realizing that the time set that we're in and the generations that we're dealing with now are completely different to those of the days gone by. I mean, I find it very funny, and you're going to laugh at me, but a lot of the times I look at shows like, these Indian channels that come on TV, and you kind of relate to the situations that come to the fore there, and you sit and you laugh it off because it's something you relate to. Well, in actual fact, that is not something that should be happening in today's day and age.
I agree. There's certain things that have been so normalized that we automatically assume that we shouldn't expect it to be any different, right? And that in itself is part of the problem, is that when we've taken the rituals and the traditions of the culture and we've normalized that, and we've lost sight of what was the purpose or the benefit of having those in place in days gone by, for example. What happens is when times change, we forget what the purpose was, and we try to hold on to the ritual and the tradition because we feel that our culture is under threat. And that shifts the focus from the benefit and the value of what we were doing in the first place to one of, we need to protect ourselves from becoming irrelevant. And that touches on a very important theme to add on to what Amina was saying just now, is that when you have this changing dynamic, this change in circumstance, and you see people working from home now and jobs becoming more insecure than before, or a lot of job losses, business taking strain, all of that. What happens is that when that strain sets in, it doesn't introduce necessarily new pressures into the relationship. It only reveals the underlying pressures that were there already, where those when things were going smoothly, it was almost like it made it okay for those pressures to be there. But now that there's a demand for you to step forward and be more supportive or be more understanding, and you find it difficult to do that, you need to question, well, how were you doing it all along in the first place? And all that, the lockdowns and the COVIDs and the pandemic and everything, all that's done for us is it's revealed the cracks in our society and in our family units. And how we want to respond to that now is part of the reason why we've established this platform, so that we can have conversations about what's a real life experience, and rather than identifying who's right, who's wrong, what's right, what's wrong, usually that's quite plain to see. Understanding why it is that we find it difficult to do what we know is right, that's what we want to focus on.
Most definitely. And I think it's about determining the root and the stem of the problem and then dealing with the issue as such. But if we're going to play the blame game, then definitely we're not going to be able to reach those goals and those solutions and that way to move forward. And I think you'll agree with me. I mean, we've been stuck in this mindset of telling ourselves, well, no, man, I think this is the solution. My grandmother did it this way, or my mom does it this way, but not realizing that, is this apt enough for the type of situation we're in?
Absolutely. You touched on such an important point there, Nafisa, because we have to always say, are our processes and methodologies still relevant for today? And I think we see that in business. You know, we apply it in business. We apply it to the way we raise our children. Why can't we take a step back and say, these things no longer serve us? They are no longer relevant to today's world, and change things. Because when, you know, there's a thing that change agility is part of survival. If you aren't able to change, you will become extinct. I mean, history, evolution, Allah has shown us that, okay, that you will become extinct if you just stay still. It's when you move and you change and you adapt that you survive. And our tendency to say, this is how our grandmother did it, so we're going to do it this way, perhaps just needs a bit of looking at. We perhaps need to take a step back and tweak it a bit. So I'm not saying absolutely eradicate all tradition and culture. I'm saying we need to take a step back and say, is this ritual, culture, tradition serving us in the best way that it can? Because, you know, to be honest, they were created for survival, right? They were created for a reason. But they may no longer be relevant.
Exactly. I agree with you. And I think what we need to understand, the type of norms that they grew up with and the circumstances that they lived in is not the same circumstances that we're living today. It has changed completely. And so I like the idea of you saying adaptability. That's what it's about. It's about the adaptability. But we're going to go for a quick break. Stay with us. We'll be back with you in an instant.
Okay.
Zaid, in 11:30, we have work humanitarian day. I need to be quick. Okay, so we're gonna play.
This is of Maulana Suhail Wadi.
These days, I'm more health conscious than ever. So tonight it's stir fry for dinner, cooked in healthy Helios pure sunflower cooking oil. Helios is pure sunflower goodness, packed with omega-6. That's good for your heart, and is approved as part of the Heart and Stroke Foundation eating plan. Dinner's ready! Helios, pure sunflower cooking oil. A healthy family is a happy one.
DusiMed Medicine Depot, retail pharmacy and emergency medical depot. Conveniently situated in the DusiMed Medical Center, corner Burger and Bosser Street, Pietermaritzburg. We provide safe, affordable and convenient medical facilities. Open till 10 p.m. every day of the year. We have a full house clinic that operates from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., which is run by a qualified sister. The clinic offers immunization, vaccination, wellness, general consultation and more. Call Doozy Med Medicine Depot on 033 3421 Doozy Med Medicine Depot, your pharmacy of choice.
Did you know a sponsored water well and borehole allows children to go back to school, empowers communities, and is a means of sadaqah jariyah? There are many villages in Africa and Afghanistan that are in need of water wells and boreholes. Sponsor a water well in Africa at 14,500 rands, or a borehole in Africa and Afghanistan at 49,500 rands. Call Africa Muslims Agency on 011 834 8685 or donate at Africa Muslims Agency. .co.za. Africa Muslims Agency, inspiring the spirit of giving.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
This life is only finite. The good and the bad times will be left behind as we make our way through this journey to the finest place for infinity. Lord, don't deny me your paradise. Jannah, Jannah, it's all I ever wish for. This life is not eternal, but the next will last forever. Jannah, Jannah, it's all I ever wish for. Oh God, please don't deprive me a blissful life eternally.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media.
Welcome back. What an interesting topic about, should we say, support structures for women and women in conversation. I think it's a phenomenal project that has been started off. Amina and Zaid, I think you've really started off something that has been, should we say, pending for a very, very long time and pertinent for people out there to be able to, should we say, create these support structures and reach out there. What message would you like to leave us with this morning? We seem to be running out of time.
Sure. I think the message is, please feel free to log on to, join our Facebook group. It's called Conversations with Muslim Women. It is an opportunity for you to not feel all alone in what you're experiencing, because you will notice that once you post something, other people will share and say, actually, sister or brother or whatever, I am also going through that, or I have also been through that, or I know somebody who is or has experienced the same thing. So my last closing point would be, let's just engage, let's just have conversations and understand each other's experiences, because that is the best starting point.
Agreed. Zaid, from your side?
I think to echo what Amina said, we need to create an opportunity for ourselves to get a fresh perspective on what it is that we're dealing with. If we're going to assume that our perspective and what we believe to be true is the only truth about what it is that we're dealing with, we're basically painting ourselves into a corner. And the platform in the group, you don't have to necessarily share your story, but if you just listen to what other stories are being shared and what other experiences are being shared, and you see the kind of feedback and insight and the discussion that flows from that, immediately you open yourself up to a greater understanding of what it is you're dealing with. And that's what we want to do. We want to focus on creating the understanding, and inshallah from there we hope that it will find a natural progression of its own into something that will be beneficial longer term as well.
I so agree with you. And I really want to thank you so much for joining us today on the show. Definitely a phenomenal project. To all your viewers out there, there we go. There's the space. There's the place. Go out, join them, and entice yourself to be able to be uplifted, empowered, and create a sustainability, not just from a financial point of view, but from a mental point of view. Jazakallah so much. Take care and all the best going forward. And I hope we can chat soon.
Inshallah. Shukran. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Walaikum salam. Zaid, Ismail and Amina Mohamed talking to us about conversations with Muslim women and, of course, saying that there is a support structure out there. So do go and follow them and join them and get into the moment of changing things for the better. And talking about that, we're going straight into World Humanitarian Day. Today's World Humanitarian Day is also the day of Ashura. How coincident, what beautiful days we're experiencing today. A World Humanitarian Day was, of course, founded on the 19th of August, should I say, 2003. A bomb attack on the Canal Hotel in Baghdad, Iraq, killed 22 humanitarian aid workers, including the UN Special Representative of the Secretary General for Iraq, Sergio Vieira de Mello. 5 years later, the General Assembly adopted a resolution designating 19th of August as World Humanitarian Day. Each year, WHD focuses on a theme, bringing together partners from across the humanitarian system to advocate for the survival, well-being, and dignity of people affected by the crisis. And no better than talking to us about the theme. We're going to first go for an ad break, and then you'll be joining you with that story.